Well, look, life is certainly unpredictable. Wild story out there about cruisers getting banned for having a bad cruise. Having a bad cruise and talking about it, seemingly. Also, thousands of cruise passengers stranded at a cruise port for the simplest reason. Yeah, that plus a whole lot more on today's episode. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lido Loca. Welcome to the cruise show. I am your host, Tony, here to talk you through everything going on in cruising. It's everything going on in cruising. It's for your face on a Tuesday the 17th of June, 2025. And look, like I said, life is unpredictable. I don't know if you can tell with the lights off, but when I came into the studio this morning, this was the scene I walked into. The part of the roof done fell in. Shocking to say the least, but the show must go on. Show must go on. Shout out Ludacris. Crazy times in cruising. First, let's talk about this cruise couple, Dan and Jay, that got a letter from Carnival Corporation saying that they are no longer welcome to sail on any of their cruise brands. That's like 9 cruise brands: Carnival, P&O, Cunard, Holland America Line, Princess, more. I don't know all of the different brands, but that's a lot of cruise ships that these guys can no longer cruise on. And well, the interesting thing is not only are they cruisers, but they're also cruise content creators. These two are the main editors of the Sail Away magazine. They also have the Sail Away podcast. That's where you can get podcasts. It's on YouTube. And they made a video just the other day saying that they're no longer welcome. Let me give you the direct quote from the letter. Following a review of your recent interactions with us, we believe that you have both clearly demonstrated that we cannot offer the holiday that you are looking for. It is thus no longer appropriate for you to travel with us or any of the Carnival Group brands. This includes Cunard, P&O Cruises, and Princess Cruises. I'm sorry to have to convey this decision to you. Please note that this letter represents our final decision on the matter, and you will therefore not be permitted to travel with us for a period of 5 years, after which we may review. Please note that no further correspondence on the matter will be entered into. Now, they made a video over on their Sail Away magazine channel. I would invite you to go check that out. And it's hard to say what happened. Now, they've been on a few Carnival cruise brands. They were recently on a Carnival cruise ship, but they've made videos that are critical of multiple Carnival cruise experiences. They've also made videos that are positive also. So it's a mixed bag. But something has triggered the ban hammer over there for Carnival Corporation, and it's an interesting thing. And it's an interesting thing, at least for content creators, but it's also an interesting thing for just paying passengers in general. I've been trying to process through this over the last couple days. A business has a right to refuse service. I remember when I worked for Burger King back in the day, back in the early 90s, we had customers that we deemed to be challenging customers. Every time you would sell them a bag of burgers, they would come back and say the bag of burgers are wrong. We would like our money back. This is just one example. I'm not saying it's the exact same thing, but they did that enough times that our store manager where we work said, look, we can't sell you burgers anymore because every time we sell you burgers, you don't like them. I've also heard stories of people that return too much stuff to Amazon, where Amazon eventually said, hey, you know that return part of our business, that's no longer available to you because we don't think that that's working out right. So a business has the right to say, look, if you're not digging what we're putting down, then how about just not coming on our product? And, it's a can of worms, really, because there's a lot of debate out there. Is Carnival censoring critical people? Or, do people have the right to be critical of a thing? And certainly, under, the ability to speak and post things, you do have the right to be critical. But are there consequences to that criticism? Are there consequences to being a critic? And certainly for these guys, that's true. Now, there's a lot of different cruising content out there. We talked about it yesterday. This is primarily, at least this form of the show, is primarily a cruise commentary show where we talk about some of the interesting events that are going on in cruising. But there's also like cruise tip shows out there, and there's also cruise review shows. And it does seem like over the last few years, a lot of the cruise review type content has been more skewed toward things that are bad. And certainly it's a weird phenomenon because people gravitate to negative stories. It's, I've tested it out over 8 years. I've posted, I've marketed my videos as kind of puppy dogs and rainbows. And I've also, marketed my videos as challenging and skewing toward the more negative side. And certainly the more negative side gets the clicks. What's the old press term for hundreds of years? If it, bleeds, it leads. And so it's a challenge for content creators to market content, because you want to get eyes on what you think is banger good content. But sometimes you can't, if you can't get people into the video, they're never going to see the banger good content. And so I think you see that a lot. If you just go to the top reviewers of cruise ships, a lot of it leads with a negative. And there may be chock full of positive things in those videos, but the marketing is often negative. And so, I don't know. It gives you pause, because two things that I wonder is, will people be less critical of their cruise experience out of fear that they are going to get banned for saying something critical? And does this apply not only to content creators, but does it also apply to just the average cruiser that's writing a poor review or a challenging review of a thing? All of a sudden, will they be like, hey, look, we saw your critical review. Obviously, we can't please you, so you can no longer sail with us. Like I said, it's a slippery slope, but at the same time, I can empathize with the leadership of a business that said, man, we're getting hammered all the time by these people. Obviously, they're not happy. I don't know if this is the case. We really don't know what's going on. Just we know their side. We know the letter. And, it's challenging. For me, it's a weird scenario. So I've paid for most of my cruises, but I've also, had cruises. I've been on press cruises. I've been paid by cruise lines to go on cruises. And it's always a weird balancing act. Most of the time, if the cruise line pays me to make a video, I try to make that video more of a documentary type video. Here's the experience that was given to me. And I try to be less editorial of it. But then certainly when I'm paying for it myself, I try to be more editorial. And I definitely make those distinctions in the video. So I don't know. I think my wife, the lovely Jenny B, said to me yesterday that the demand for cruising is so high that maybe the role of the influencer to motivate people to try different cruise lines or try different ships or do different things in cruising is diminished over what it was just a few years ago. And, maybe you got to be careful. You got to be careful. I don't know. It's certainly going to be the next time I make a review type video of a cruise ship. I think this scenario will be in my mind because that's the way it works. Any business can refuse service really for most any reason. There's a few protected reasons why you can't refuse service, but I don't think not servicing a disgruntled customer, I don't think that follows under protected reasons. So interesting. I'm bummed out for these guys. They've got a good attitude about it. They're going to continue to do their work, and they'll still be able to report on the cruise lines they want to report on. But that's got to be a shocking thing to get a letter saying that, hey, we don't want your business anymore, and we don't want you on our cruise lines. Yeah. Now, I've got to talk to you about the thousands of cruise passengers that recently got stranded, but I also need to give you a warning about hackers, identity thieves, people that want to do bad stuff with your internet data. Also, the time of the month where I remind you about the great sponsor of today's episode, Private Internet Access VPN. PIA VPN is an application that you run on your internet-connected devices to encrypt your data, to keep it hidden from prying eyes. The big reasons I like PIA VPN is unlimited devices for one low price, cover all of your devices. They have a no-log policy, so they're not holding your data while protecting your data. That's important. 24/7 tech support and a 30-day money-back guarantee. They also help with geofencing. I was telling my daughter about the great J.K. Simmons movie Whiplash, and I wanted to show it to her. I have a Netflix account, but it was not on Netflix in the U.S., but it was available for Netflix in Canada. I used my PIA VPN to connect to a server in Canada, and I was able to show my lovely daughter Whiplash. That's a great movie. I guess we could have a big discussion as to what that means. Look, you can try PIA VPN for yourself for a discounted price. Click the link in the description to get 83% off of your PIA VPN subscription. It equals about $2.03 a month, and you actually get 4 months for free. Protect your data. Thank you, PIA VPN, for sponsoring today's episode. Look, here's a little look behind the scenes. When we make these ad videos for companies, we have to send those ads off for approval. They have the right to approve or disapprove our video to make sure that all the talking points are in there. And so I try to keep continuity. So I'll try to wear the same shirt and I'll try to have everything looking the same, but the roof fell in. So, I struggle with the continuity today. Please watch those ads and give the sponsors a try, because they're keeping the entertainment coming for your face, at least through La Lita Loca. But thanks again, PIA VPN, and sorry the roof fell in. But okay, let's move on to thousands of cruisers stranded. Here's the scenario. Last week, the Regal Princess was on a 12-day British Isles itinerary. It made a stop in Invergordon, Scotland. And I guess one of the big things that you can do in Invergordon is you can take a tour to Loch Ness. Now, I don't know if I was in Invergordon. I went to Loch Ness, and I think I went through this same scenario. Invergordon's not ringing a bell, but I could go back and look at my itineraries. But some of these ports that I've gone to all over the world, they have a local transit system that takes you to another place where the tours are going to take off. Sometimes you walk right off the cruise ship, you get on the tour bus, your excursion starts. But in some of these ports, especially like some more commercial ports, stuff like that, they have a local port authority that runs a shuttle service, and you have to get on the shuttle to go to the place where the tours take off. Well, that was the scenario this last week for the Regal Princess. The challenge is the Regal Princess is one of the largest cruise ships capacity-wise that Invergordon deals with. 4,000 passengers needed to get on these shuttle buses to get to their tours, and something went wrong. There was not enough shuttle buses, the system was not working correctly, and thousands of passengers are reporting that they waited multiple hours just to get from the cruise ship onto the shuttle bus, onto the place where your actual day out excurting begins. Now, I believe what would happen is that anybody that had a excursion booked through Princess probably had priority on those shuttle buses. They were probably able to get on there first. That's one of the big advantages of booking a shore excursion with the cruise line. There's also another big advantage. I'm going to share that with you that I found out yesterday that I didn't even think about, but we'll wrap this story up first. But people that had private excursions booked, again, they're reporting that they waited in line for hours to get on these shuttle buses, and then by the time they got to the place where their tour was going to take off, it was canceled. They weren't able to do it. That would be a frustrating day at port. The port authority there did acknowledge that they had a problem. They put out a statement that said, "We held a very positive and constructive meeting with the cruise line. We are now both working through what we can change and improve for the next visit." I forgot about that whole shuttle play. There's a place that Don and I were at where you could take the shuttle or you could walk a mile, and we chose to walk because there was a backed up shuttle. I don't remember what cruise port that was. And speaking about Don Terrace, I've had a lot of you guys. Don put out a very challenging video yesterday where he was struggling to breathe, and he was immediately going to the hospital after he put that video up. I did exchange text messages with Don a couple times yesterday. Shortly after I saw that video, he told me he was at the hospital. They were still checking to see what was going on. And then I talked to him again last night. He was still at the hospital. Now, it's really his story to tell, the particulars of what's going on with him. But I can report that he was at the hospital. He seemed in good spirits, and it did sound like the medical staff there knew what the issue was and that they were taking care of him. So, man, if you're praying, folks, please say a prayer for my friend Don Terrace. If you're a positive vibe, folks, please say the positive vibe. And if you're none of those things, just have a slice of pizza in the honor of my friend Don Terrace, something like that. But there's that. And then let me hit you with this. This was something I did not think about, the real value of booking a shore excursion with the cruise line. This came from that same video I was talking about yesterday with the brand ambassador from Carnival, John Heald. We know for sure that one of the big benefits of booking an excursion directly with the cruise line is the fact that they're going to guarantee that you get back onto the cruise ship. It costs more, the cruise line excursion, than a local tour, but the cruise ship's not going to leave you. That's the one, that's the bell we always ring. That's the thing. But John mentioned something I didn't even think about. He started talking about when you get injured at port, when you get injured on a shore excursion, if you've booked a cruise ship excursion and you get injured, They facilitate taking care of you, getting you the medical attention, being your liaison between the medical facilities and the cruise ship and all of that stuff. They're not going to leave you in the lurch if you get injured. He pointed out that if you're on a private excursion, that may not be true. The private excursion person's not going to hold your hand through that whole process. You're potentially going to be stuck. So I didn't really even think about that, but that to me, that's another good reason why maybe to book an excursion through the cruise ship. I don't know if you've had any experiences with that. Look, I'm afraid of mold. I got to get this couch out of here. I got to wrap up the day. That's everything that's going on in cruising. And we got insulation on the floor over here, but I still think we should dance. Get up, Tony. We'll see you on the Lido. Get up.